The phone rang at 5:32 a.m. on a bitter February morning, cutting through the silence of my study like a fire alarm. I was already awake, hunched over tax documents at my mahogany desk, the same desk where I had reviewed financial statements for 43 years as a certified public accountant. The caller ID showed Sterling and Associates in stark letters. My breath caught in my throat. Gordon Sterling, my longtime colleague and financial advisor, never called before dawn unless something catastrophic had occurred. "Gordon?" I answered, my voice hoarse with sudden dread. "Bartholomew, I need you to sit down." His voice carried the weight of someone delivering a death sentence. "I've been conducting our annual portfolio review, and I've discovered irregularities that require immediate discussion. Can you meet me at my office within the hour?" The tax papers scattered across my desk as my hand trembled. "What kind of irregularities?" "The kind that suggests someone with authorized access to your accounts has been systematically liquidating your retirement assets for nearly 3 years. Bartholomew, over $1.4 million has vanished from your portfolio." The world tilted on its axis. Cold dread filled my chest, spreading through my ribcage like ice water. $1.4 million. The carefully accumulated wealth that Constance and I had built through 5 decades of disciplined saving and prudent investing. The financial security we had planned to leave to our granddaughter Penelope. "That's impossible," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "Only Octavia has access to those accounts, and she's been managing them flawlessly. She provides detailed quarterly reports showing steady growth." "Bartholomew." Gordon's voice sliced through my denial with surgical precision. "Those quarterly reports are elaborate forgeries. I'm looking at the authentic bank statements right now. Your daughter has been providing you with completely fabricated financial documentation while systematically draining every accessible account." My legs gave out. I collapsed into Constance's antique reading chair, the leather creaking under my weight. "Octavia." My brilliant daughter, the successful pharmaceutical sales executive who had stepped in to help manage my finances after Constance's stroke 3 years ago. The devoted child who visited twice weekly, bringing groceries and managing my household affairs with such apparent competence. "There's more," Gordon continued, his voice gentle but relentless. "I found evidence of unauthorized changes to your late wife's life insurance policy. The beneficiary was altered from you to Octavia just 4 days before Constance passed away. The signature appears to be forged." The phone nearly slipped from my numb fingers. Constance's life insurance. The $400,000 policy we had maintained for decades, specifically designated to ensure my care if I survived her. Money meant to cover any extended medical needs in my final years. My mind reeled as fragments of memory coalesced into a horrifying pattern. Octavia sitting at this very desk 2 years ago, insurance forms spread before her. "Dad, let me handle all this bureaucratic nonsense while you focus on grieving Mom. I understand these financial companies better than you do." Her voice on the phone 6 months ago. "The insurance settlement is taking forever because of their ridiculous paperwork requirements. Don't worry about it, I'm handling everything." Her concerned expression just last week. "Dad, you seem confused about your account balances lately. Are you sure you're remembering the numbers correctly? Maybe we should have Dr. Morrison check your cognitive function." Each memory was a fresh blade to my heart. She hadn't been protecting me from bureaucratic complications. She had been systematically isolating me from my own financial reality while looting everything Constance and I had worked to build. "What do I do?" The question emerged as barely a whisper. "We fight back with everything we have," Gordon said, his voice hardening with resolve. "But Bartholomew, this is absolutely critical. You cannot let Octavia suspect that you know. Can you maintain that pretense? Can you act completely normal while we build an ironclad case?" I sat in Constance's chair, surrounded by the financial documents that had been my life's work, and felt something cold and implacable crystallize in my chest. For 4 decades, I had been a forensic accountant who specialized in detecting corporate fraud. I understood financial crimes, evidence chains, and the methodology of systematic theft better than most law enforcement officers. My daughter had just become the most important audit case of my career. "Yes," I said, my voice steadying with mechanical precision. "I can do that." Gordon must have heard the change in my tone, the shift from shocked father to analytical professional. "She has no idea what she's awakened." Hey friend, if you love real gripping stories where justice hits hard and betrayal never goes unpunished, please subscribe. 1 second for you, big deal for me. 10 months earlier, I had been living what I thought was a peaceful retirement in the colonial house that Constance and I had called home for 38 years. At 71, I was financially secure, intellectually active through volunteer tax preparation for seniors, and blessed with a daughter who seemed genuinely devoted to helping her widowed father navigate the complexities of single life. The house on Elm Ridge Drive reflected everything Constance and I had valued: traditional craftsmanship, practical design, and spaces filled with the accumulation of a shared lifetime. Constance had been a high school English teacher. I was a CPA who had built a successful practice specializing in fraud detection and financial analysis. Together, we had created a comfortable life built on honest work and careful financial planning. When Constance's stroke claimed her mobility and then her life over the course of 18 months, Octavia stepped into the void with what appeared to be perfect timing and genuine devotion. She was 38 then, a pharmaceutical sales representative earning substantial commissions, recently divorced from her unreliable ex-husband, and suddenly very attentive to her grieving father's needs. "Dad, you can't be expected to manage Mom's complex medical insurance claims while you're dealing with her daily care," she had said, organizing stacks of Medicare forms and prescription receipts on my dining room table. "Let me coordinate all the financial and administrative details. I deal with medical billing systems every day in my job. This will be simple for me." It had seemed like divine intervention. Constance's stroke had left her requiring round-the-clock care, and the maze of insurance authorizations, medical bills, and care coordination was overwhelming during my emotional crisis. When Constance finally passed in March 2022, the transition seemed seamless. Octavia simply continued managing what she had already been handling. The power of attorney documents she presented were professionally prepared and appeared comprehensive. "It's just so you don't have to deal with bank bureaucrats and insurance companies when you're not feeling up to it," she explained, her voice warm with what I believed was filial concern. "I can handle all the administrative coordination while you focus on your emotional recovery." I signed without consulting my own attorney. The most catastrophic mistake of my 71 years. Our financial situation at the time of Constance's death was exceptionally solid. 48 years of disciplined saving, conservative investing, and living below our means had left us with $1.6 million in retirement accounts, $520,000 in a diversified investment portfolio, our home valued at $750,000, and Constance's life insurance policy worth $400,000. Additionally, we had established a $120,000 educational trust for our granddaughter Penelope's future college expenses. I had been proud of our financial discipline. Growing up during my parents' financial struggles in the 1960s had taught me the crucial importance of saving for the future and avoiding debt. Every dollar had been earned through honest professional work, my accounting practice and Constance's 3 decades of teaching. Now, sitting in Gordon's corner office 4 days after his devastating phone call, I stared at authentic bank statements that revealed a story of calculated, systematic theft spanning 34 months. "Your daughter began conservatively," explained Isabella Vance, the forensic accountant Gordon had retained to trace the missing funds. "Initial withdrawals of $8,000 to $12,000 monthly, carefully staying below thresholds that would trigger automatic institutional reviews. But as her confidence increased, so did the withdrawal amounts." Isabella spread computer printouts across the mahogany conference table with methodical precision. She was a severe-looking woman in her mid-40s whose reputation for uncovering complex financial fraud was legendary among white-collar defense attorneys. By month 20, she was withdrawing $45,000 to $60,000 monthly from your retirement accounts. She also established a substantial home equity line of credit against your property, a credit line you never applied for but which she secured using your power of attorney authorization. I studied the withdrawal patterns with my trained accountant's eye, automatically analyzing the progression. She was testing my monitoring capabilities, I realized. Starting small to determine whether I would notice discrepancies or question the account balances. Precisely. And when you didn't react, because you were trusting the fabricated quarterly reports she provided, she became increasingly aggressive. Isabella produced another set of documents. This is where the scheme becomes truly sophisticated and calculated. She showed me evidence of multiple shell companies that Octavia had established: Meridian Healthcare Solutions LLC, Pacific Financial Consulting, and Sterling Investment Management. All were registered to commercial mail forwarding services and existed solely to receive and launder transfers from my accounts. The stolen funds moved through these shell entities and then into investments and purchases that directly benefited your daughter and her boyfriend, Maximilian Cross. They acquired a luxury condominium in Miami, a high-end Tesla Model S, and made substantial investments in Cross's struggling cryptocurrency trading platform. Maximilian Cross. I had met him exactly 3 times, all briefly when he accompanied Octavia to family dinners. A smooth-talking entrepreneur in his early 40s who claimed to be developing revolutionary blockchain technology for financial services. I had instinctively distrusted his practiced charm and evasive answers about his business credentials. The Miami condominium alone consumed $340,000 of your retirement funds, Isabella continued. They purchased it as an investment property under Cross's name, but the down payment, closing costs, and luxury furnishings came directly from your liquidated accounts. Gordon leaned forward, his expression grave. Bartholomew, this isn't opportunistic theft or financial desperation. This is a carefully planned long-term fraud designed to transfer your entire accumulated wealth to your daughter and her partner while keeping you pacified with false documentation. The scope of the betrayal was staggering, but what devastated me emotionally was the evidence surrounding Constance's final days. The life insurance beneficiary modification, Isabella said quietly, was submitted while your wife was in intensive care, heavily sedated with morphine for pain management. The signature is a skilled forgery, but forensic analysis reveals significant differences from your wife's authentic handwriting samples. I stared at the forged document, seeing my beloved Constance's name signed by someone else's hand. My daughter had looked at her dying mother and calculated how to steal from her estate. There's another element you need to understand, Gordon said hesitantly. Penelope's educational trust fund. It's been completely liquidated. My granddaughter's college fund. The trust Constance and I had established when Penelope was born, contributing faithfully every birthday and Christmas for 16 years. Penelope was now a high school junior, already researching universities and talking about studying environmental science. How much remains in my accessible accounts? I asked, though I dreaded the answer. In your primary checking account, approximately $23,000. Your savings account shows a balance of $7,400. The retirement funds have been reduced to $89,000 from the original $1.6 million. Your investment portfolio has been entirely liquidated. The room seemed to tilt. Nearly $2.5 million, stolen by my own child while I grieved my wife and trusted in her love and competence. But Isabella wasn't finished with her devastating analysis. We also discovered that Octavia has been paying herself a monthly financial management fee of $4,500 for handling your accounts. She's been systematically billing you for the service of stealing your life savings. The calculated audacity was almost professionally impressive. She had transformed theft into a billable service, complete with invoices and fee schedules. What are my realistic options for recovery? I asked. Gordon and Isabella exchanged a meaningful look. Criminal prosecution for elder abuse, fraud, and forgery, Gordon said. Civil litigation for complete restitution plus damages. But there's a significant complication. Most of your stolen assets have been converted into real estate, luxury goods, and business investments that would be difficult to liquidate rapidly. And if Octavia suspects were building a case against her, she could transfer any remaining accessible funds to offshore accounts, destroy incriminating evidence, or simply disappear to a non-extradition jurisdiction, Isabella completed. We need to document her in the act of another substantial theft while we're recording it with professional quality evidence. That opportunity materialized sooner than anticipated. 3 weeks later, Octavia called with barely contained excitement in her voice. Dad, I have fantastic news about your investment performance. Can I come over tonight to review the quarterly reports and discuss some exciting new opportunities? I spent the afternoon preparing for what I knew would be the most important performance of my life. The surveillance equipment Isabella's private investigation firm had installed was state-of-the-art, nearly invisible recording devices hidden in the bookshelf and desk lamp, designed to capture both high-definition video and crystal-clear audio. When Octavia arrived at 6:30 p.m., she looked every inch the successful pharmaceutical executive in her tailored business suit and Italian leather accessories. Her blonde hair was styled in an expensive salon cut, and her jewelry displayed understated elegance. All purchased, I now understood, with my stolen retirement savings. Your portfolio has been performing exceptionally well this quarter, she said, spreading elaborately fabricated charts and graphs across my dining room table. The biotech sector has been incredible, and your diversified holdings are up 14% year-to-date. I forced myself to smile appreciatively while studying documents that represented complete fiction. That's wonderful, sweetheart. You've always been so much more sophisticated about investments than your old father. Her smile radiated what I now recognized as predatory satisfaction. I've been researching some exciting opportunities for additional diversification. There's a chance to invest in cutting-edge cryptocurrency technology that could dramatically accelerate your portfolio growth. Cryptocurrency? I asked, playing the role of the curious but financially naive father. Max's company is developing blockchain applications for secure financial transactions that are going to revolutionize digital banking. They're still in the private investment phase, which means enormous potential returns for early investors. Max's company. She was preparing to funnel more of my remaining funds into her boyfriend's failing business venture. What level of investment would be required for such an opportunity? I asked carefully. Well, to really maximize the potential, we'd want to invest at least $150,000. I know that sounds substantial, but Dad, this technology could generate millions in returns over the next 3 to 5 years. $150,000. Nearly everything that remained in my accessible accounts. That seems like a very significant commitment, I said cautiously. Her expression shifted subtly, taking on an edge I had learned to recognize over the past months. Dad, sometimes you have to act decisively when extraordinary opportunities present themselves. The investment window for early participants is only open for another 10 days. 10 days seems quite rushed for such a large financial decision. Dad. Her voice carried a note of impatience she couldn't quite suppress anymore. I've been successfully managing your finances for almost 3 years now. Has my guidance ever disappointed you? Your portfolio is performing better than it ever did when you were handling everything yourself. The lies flowed so naturally that I wondered if she had convinced herself they represented reality. You're absolutely right, of course, I said. You've done an outstanding job. But $150,000 represents such a large portion of my accessible funds. That's exactly why this makes perfect sense, she said, leaning forward with the intensity of a saleswoman closing a crucial deal. You're 71 years old, Dad. How many more years are you realistically going to need substantial liquid assets? Wouldn't you rather see this money grow into something significant that can benefit Penelope's future? Using my granddaughter's future to justify stealing from her education fund was a masterful manipulation technique. But she had overplayed her hand by explicitly referencing my age and mortality. What do you mean about not needing liquid assets? I asked. I just mean that at your stage of life your major expenses are largely behind you. The house is completely paid off, you're in good health, your lifestyle is simple and inexpensive. This investment could set Penelope up for life instead of just sitting in low-yield savings accounts. But what if I face a serious medical emergency? What if I require expensive long-term care? Her mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something cold and calculating underneath her concerned expression. Dad, you have comprehensive health insurance and Medicare. And realistically, if something truly catastrophic happened, well, that's what the house equity is for. The house. My home. The place Constance and I had lived for 38 years, where we had raised our daughter and created a lifetime of memories. She was already calculating how to liquidate that as well. After she left with my promise to carefully consider the investment opportunity, I sat in the quiet house and reached my final decision. The evidence was overwhelming, her intentions were crystal clear, and her greed had made her reckless. It was time to end this systematic theft. The confrontation took place on a cold November morning in the offices of Whitmore and Partners, the law firm Gordon had recommended for elder abuse cases. I had asked Octavia to meet me there to finalize some important estate planning documents, a request that brought an unmistakable gleam of anticipation to her eyes. She arrived looking confident and polished, greeting my attorney, Harrison Whitmore, with the warm professional smile she reserved for people she considered potentially useful. Harrison was a distinguished man in his early 60s whose reputation for prosecuting financial elder abuse was formidable throughout the state. I'm so pleased Dad is finally addressing these legal and financial planning details, she said, settling into the leather chair across from Harrison's imposing desk. He's been procrastinating about estate organization for far too long. Harrison's expression remained professionally neutral. Actually, Miss Lawson, your father requested this meeting because we've uncovered serious irregularities in his financial accounts that require immediate legal attention and discussion. The change in Octavia's demeanor was subtle but unmistakable to my trained observer's eye. Her smile faltered slightly, and she glanced between Harrison and me with the first hint of genuine unease I had witnessed from her in many months. What kind of irregularities are we discussing? She asked, her voice carefully controlled. Instead of answering immediately, Harrison pressed a button on his desktop phone. Isabella, could you join us now, please? When Isabella Vance entered carrying her thick forensic accounting folder, Octavia's face went carefully blank. She recognized a financial crimes investigator when she encountered one. "Miss Lawson," Isabella began, settling at the conference table and opening her folder with methodical precision, "over the past 6 weeks, we've conducted a comprehensive forensic audit of your father's financial accounts and transactions. What we discovered constitutes the most systematic and calculated case of elder financial abuse I've encountered in 22 years of professional practice." She began placing documents on the table one by one, each piece of paper another component in the architecture of Octavia's downfall. Bank statements revealing the authentic account balances. Withdrawal records with precise dates and amounts. Transfer authorizations bearing forged signatures. Property deeds for the Miami condominium. Investment records documenting funds flowing into Max's cryptocurrency ventures. Between April 2022 and October 2024, you systematically withdrew $1.6 million from your father's retirement accounts, liquidated his $520,000 investment portfolio, fraudulently accessed $120,000 from your daughter's educational trust, and stole $400,000 through forged life insurance documents. Octavia's face had gone pale, but her voice remained steady and controlled. "I was managing Dad's investments during an extremely volatile market period. Every withdrawal and transfer was properly authorized through his power of attorney. The quarterly reports you provided to your father were complete fabrications," Isabella continued, unperturbed by the interruption. "We have authentic statements from every financial institution involved. Your father's actual account balances were less than 4% of what your falsified reports claimed." Harrison leaned forward, his voice carrying the full weight of legal authority. "We also have definitive forensic evidence that you forged your mother's signature on life insurance beneficiary change forms while she was dying in intensive care, heavily sedated and unable to consent to any legal documents." The room fell into complete silence. Octavia stared at the evidence methodically spread before her, watching her carefully constructed world collapse in real time. When she finally looked up, the mask of loving concern was entirely gone. Her eyes held no remorse, only cold calculation and rising panic. "You can't prove any of this would stand up in a criminal court," she said quietly, her voice devoid of emotion. Isabella smiled with professional satisfaction and produced a high-quality digital recorder. "Actually, we can prove it beyond any reasonable doubt." She pressed the play button. Octavia's own voice filled the room with perfect clarity. "You're 71 years old, Dad. How many more years are you realistically going to need substantial liquid assets? Wouldn't you rather see this money grow into something significant that can benefit Penelope's future?" Then my voice, "But what if I face a serious medical emergency?" Then Octavia again, her tone cold and calculating. "Dad, you have comprehensive health insurance and Medicare. And realistically, if something truly catastrophic happened, well, that's what the house equity is for." The recording continued for another 12 minutes, capturing every lie, every manipulation, every attempt to pressure me into surrendering the remainder of my life savings to fund her boyfriend's business ventures. When the recording ended, Octavia sat motionless, staring at the device as if it contained some incomprehensible alien technology. Harrison's voice cut through the silence like a surgical blade. "Octavia, you are facing multiple felony charges including elder abuse, fraud, forgery, and grand theft. The evidence against you includes bank records, handwriting analysis from certified experts, witness statements, and hours of recorded conversations demonstrating premeditation and systematic criminal intent. This is also a comprehensive civil matter," Isabella added with clinical precision. "We will be seeking full restitution of all stolen funds plus damages, penalties, and legal costs. We've already obtained emergency court orders freezing the Miami property and all business accounts associated with your shell company operations." Octavia finally spoke, her voice hollow and desperate. "The cryptocurrency investments were supposed to generate massive returns. Max's technology is genuinely revolutionary. I was planning to return everything with substantial profits attached. Investments made without the knowledge, consent, or authorization of the account holder constitute embezzlement under state law," Harrison replied coldly. "And the elaborate cover-up operation proves conclusively that you understood your actions were criminal from the beginning." She turned to me with desperation creeping into her voice for the first time. "Dad, please. You have to understand. I can fix this situation. Max is securing major new investors next month. The Miami property is already appreciating significantly. I can repay everything with substantial interest." I looked at my daughter, This stranger who had worn my child's face while systematically destroying everything her mother and I had built together over 5 decades, and felt something permanent die inside me that could never be resurrected. "You stole your own daughter's college education fund," I said quietly, my voice steady despite the emotional devastation. "You forged your dying mother's signature to steal her life insurance money while she lay unconscious in intensive care. You were planning to force me to mortgage my home to fund your boyfriend's cryptocurrency schemes. There is no fixing this, Octavia. There is no repaying what you've stolen." The legal proceedings that followed were swift and merciless. Faced with overwhelming forensic evidence and recorded confessions, Octavia's defense attorney advised her to accept a plea agreement rather than risk a jury trial that would likely result in decades in federal prison. She pled guilty to elder abuse, fraud, forgery, and grand theft, receiving a sentence of 9 years in state prison with full restitution ordered at $2.3 million including penalties, interest, and legal costs. Maximilian Cross was arrested attempting to transfer $300,000 to an offshore cryptocurrency account and subsequently charged as a co-conspirator in the scheme. The Miami condominium was sold through court-ordered liquidation, recovering approximately 75% of the stolen funds invested in the property. The home equity line of credit was voided entirely due to fraudulent application procedures. Constance's life insurance company, when presented with definitive evidence of the forged beneficiary changes, honored the original policy terms and paid the full death benefit to my estate. The cryptocurrency investments proved to be worthless. Max's company was revealed to be an elaborate Ponzi scheme that had defrauded multiple investors of millions of dollars. By the summer of 2025, I had recovered approximately 85% of my stolen assets and something equally precious: my professional reputation and my faith in my own analytical judgment. The experience had taught me that even the most fundamental family relationships could be built on systematic deception, but it had also proven that methodical investigation and legal action could achieve justice. 14 months after Octavia's sentencing, I was working in my study when my granddaughter Penelope knocked on the door. She was 18 now, a high school valedictorian who had been devastated by her mother's crimes but had channeled her emotional pain into academic excellence and a fierce determination to study criminal justice. "Grandpa," she said, settling into the chair across from my desk, "I received my early admission letter from the state university today." I looked up from the volunteer tax preparation work I was reviewing for elderly clients. "Criminal justice program?" "Forensic accounting, actually. With a specialization in elder financial crimes." She met my eyes with Constance's intelligent gaze. "I want to help other families avoid what happened to us." I reached into my desk drawer and retrieved a bank statement showing the fully restored educational trust balance. "Your grandmother would be incredibly proud of your choice. And your college fund has been completely restored with additional growth." Penelope's eyes filled with tears. "I know Mom made terrible decisions, but she's still my mother. Is it wrong that part of me still loves her?" It was a question I had struggled with myself throughout the legal proceedings. "Love isn't something you can simply switch off," I said carefully. "But love doesn't require enabling destructive behavior or accepting abuse. You can love someone while still protecting yourself and others from their harmful actions." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "The parole board said Mom might be eligible for early release in 6 years if she demonstrates genuine rehabilitation. And when that time comes, if she's truly changed and accepts responsibility for her actions, we'll address that situation appropriately. But Penelope, some betrayals are so profound and calculated that they permanently alter family relationships. Trust, once shattered so completely and systematically, may never be fully restored to its original state." That evening, I sat in my study surrounded by the accounting ledgers and financial documents that had defined my professional life. On the desk beside me was a framed photograph of Constance and me at our 45th anniversary celebration, taken just months before her stroke. We had been so proud of the financial security we had built together, so confident that our careful planning and loving family would ensure our legacy endured. We had been partially correct. The financial legacy had survived the systematic attack, battered but largely intact. But the family legacy was forever altered. Some betrayals cut so deep they fundamentally restructure the architecture of a life. Like discovering that the foundation you thought was solid bedrock was actually shifting sand. The structure might be reinforced, stabilized, and made secure again, but the knowledge of its vulnerability remains permanently. Trust, I had learned through painful experience, was like structural integrity in accounting systems. Once compromised beyond a certain threshold, no amount of reconciliation could restore it to its original strength. But wisdom gained through betrayal, like internal controls developed after discovering fraud, could make a person stronger and more resistant to future manipulation. The house was quiet, but it no longer felt empty or vulnerable. It felt like home again, secure, honest, mine. Outside my window, the garden Constance had designed was preparing for another spring awakening. Next month, I would begin working in that soil again, tending the beauty she had created, secure in the knowledge that what we had built together would endure and benefit future generations. Some lessons can only be learned through profound pain and betrayal. But survivors of family financial abuse gain something valuable in exchange for their suffering: the unshakable knowledge that their own intelligence, professional skills, and moral authority are sufficient to protect what truly matters. Financial security can be rebuilt through careful planning and legal action. Family relationships may be permanently altered by criminal behavior. But self-respect, once reclaimed through the methodical pursuit of justice, becomes unassailable and enduring. This story serves as a crucial warning about elder financial abuse, which affects more than 5.4 million older Americans annually according to the National Council on Aging. Family members are responsible for approximately 60% of these financial crimes, making detection and prevention particularly challenging for victims who naturally trust their adult children. The warning signs include sudden changes in financial documents, unusual account activity, new family members suddenly taking over financial management, isolation from normal financial oversight, and dramatic lifestyle improvements by adult children with unexplained income sources. If you recognize these patterns in your own life or in the life of someone you care about, take immediate action. Contact your financial institutions directly, consult with an elder law attorney who specializes in abuse cases, and consider involving Adult Protective Services. Remember that maintaining direct oversight of your own financial affairs, even when family members offer to help, isn't just your legal right, it's your fundamental responsibility to protect yourself and your legacy. Have you or someone you know experienced financial manipulation or abuse by family members? How do you balance family trust with the need for financial protection and oversight? What steps do you think elderly individuals should take to protect themselves while still maintaining loving family relationships? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your insights could help protect someone else from similar devastating betrayal. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next story of justice served and families protected. Thanks for watching.